I love your music selection, by the way.
Do you know where this comes from?
No.
Oh man, dude.
Is he going to tell me, is it Andy Anderson?
No.
Where is it from?
Natural Libre.
No.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Holman, and I go by Tifa. I'm a visual artist and a cosmetologist.
And how did you get started in the arts?
I've always done art from as far back as I can remember. One of my first memories is coloring with my mom, and she taught me how to do gradients with the crayons. And then I remember she would give me these like fantasy sketchbooks, and I would draw these like goblins and figures and stuff like that and pretend that as they were getting hands and eyes that they could actually like feel and see. So it was like imaginary activity for me as a kid.
So your creative process, is it formed ahead of time, or is it formed just as you go?
It is formed ahead of time and as I go. A lot of the time I'll start by writing, and that writing gives me a base to build my visual imagery off of. Sometimes I even use imagery to create the writing. So those would look like an EKG, and it kind of outlines where I want the climax of the writing to be and the resolve, so kind of like a story arc. And yeah, the writing really like translates into the artwork eventually.
And how do you come up with your subject matter? Is it things that affect you throughout life, or?
Yeah, so a lot of it is based off of just feelings in the moment. And then some of it is also based off of my history or things that inspire me around me. Like I'm working on 2 different series right now. One of them is based off of clouds, and so I've documented clouds over the years and interviewed a meteorologist even, and we've talked about the anatomy of the clouds. And so that series is about that and anthropomorphizing the clouds. The other series is about death and what happens to people after they die. So other than blackness or heaven, what other worlds could exist outside of that? And so growing up in a very religious culture and then leaving that very early on in my childhood, I had created a bunch of different scenarios for what happens after you die. And so I've been illustrating those. And using other people's too. I've been asking friends and other people for stories if they have them.
Is there a cloud structure that inspires you the most, or is it just as you go?
None in particular, but one of the cool things that I learned from talking to my meteorologist friend is that no matter where you are, like the clouds will always be different because of the altitude, the humidity. So they're all unique to like a thumbprint for whatever region you're in.
Were you self-taught, or we talked earlier and you said that there was a certain person that got you started into art. Who was that?
That would be my mom. She is an artist in her own way. She raised 4 children and is a full-time RN, and so she never really had time to pursue the arts, but she always had a love for them. And so when she saw that in me early on, that I had a strong interest, she definitely encouraged it. But I would say that she was my greatest teacher. I remember as I was growing up, I would always bring her my artwork, and she was really critical of it, actually. It was like, look at this piece that I spent 8 hours on, and she's like, that eye is off. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just start over. But she didn't mean it in a cruel way. She's one of the most kind people that I know, but she knew what I wanted to see and wanted me to help me get better. And so she always was kind of asking me questions and pushing me further.
Probably helped you with your success.
Yeah, it's definitely made me a very detail-oriented and a little bit of a perfectionist as an artist, and I've spent many years trying to break that a little bit and learn how to embrace abstraction and the looseness of painting. This is actually a painting that is an exercise of that. Yeah, so this is my very I'm gonna say like weak attempt at abstract work, and it still has a lot of surrealism, realism.
Can you
references.
explain the painting to us a little bit?
Yeah, so this was created towards the end of 2020. I was starting my own business, and I have Crohn's disease, so I was dealing with all kinds of medical stuff and relationships with other people, and I felt like I was juggling a lot of things in my life, and my head felt like it was spinning, like I could barely keep up with my schedule. It was just back-to-back hours scheduled. And somehow within all of that chaos, my hands are still able to keep this steady flow of work and still maintain the detail that I strive for.
How does it make you feel when you're creating?
Peaceful, mostly. I think that my mind is always all over the place and really busy. So whenever I'm painting, it's a way to like shut that off and really just focus on nothing, kind of, and everything at the same time.
I can understand it as an artist as well, especially the trying to juggle work, being personable with people, and still staying active and doing your art.
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of sacrificing those relationships as well.
I think people don't understand how hard it is to balance the art aspect and still maintain friendships. Because as far as they can see, it's like you can do that anytime.
Right.
But it's like even though it is a passion, it's a career and a job. So
exactly.
You can't neglect it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of other artists would relate to the fact that people see it often as a hobby, and a lot of creative or anything that would be considered fun that isn't work and it isn't like challenging and slaving away for somebody else's dollar kind of thing, and you're working hard for yourself. I think a lot of people see those pursuits as not really valid as work. It's definitely been a struggle since I've moved to doing art full time. I'll be at the salon and people think that is where I go to work, and that the rest of the week that I just have time off because I'm at home painting all week. And that is not the case. It's harder work even than being at the salon, I think, because I'll sit for 12 hours sometimes trying to create something that doesn't even exist.
Finances weren't a thing. Would you still style, or would you put 100% of your time towards painting?
I've been asked that a lot, and I think that I would still work at the salon as long as I'm capable of. It's really hard on your body, but it gives me the ability to talk to other people, and there are moments in the art world where I do get that, but a lot of the time it's a lot of solitude, which I love passionately. But if I give into that too much, then I'll just stop talking to people altogether. So being at the salon really gives me the opportunity to communicate with people and also be creative in a different form. I think that it affects the way that I paint.
Do you find that you're more of an introvert or an extrovert?
Absolutely an introvert. I need to be alone to feel re-energized, whereas I have friends who feel like when they're alone, they're not productive. When I'm with people, I feel like I'm not productive.
That's true. I feel the same way with that, exactly.
Yeah. yeah, the introvert life.
All right.